to our live that we have going on today. Super excited about this topic today. We're into 2024. I can't believe that next week we're going to be staring at May. I mean, it's incredible how quickly 2024 is passing us by. And a lot of firms that we're talking to, lots of law firms doing incredible things, having great success. And then there are firms that aren't really achieving what they'd hoped for. I mean, we're going to be, before we know it, we'll be at the mid-year mark. And are you really on track to hitting your goals that you set out for at the beginning of the year? And so today, as we jump into the topic we're going to talk about for just a few minutes today live, is what mistakes are our law firms making when it comes to marketing in 2024? Because the landscape is changing constantly and so quickly. You know, it's interesting, Colleen, as you know, I have older kids. I have a daughter who's 26, and then I have twin boys that are 13, you know, and they were all together this last weekend. And it was amazing as I was listening to the 26-year-old talk to the 13-year-old and how much middle school has changed in the 13 years. You know,
Yeah.
when my daughter was in middle school, she didn't have a cell phone. There wasn't the social media like there's today. And things have changed just in a decade's time, how quickly things have changed.
Right.
And so as we think about marketing specifically for law firms in 2024, what are some of the mistakes they're making that are really preventing their success? Colleen, get us started.
Sure. I think not having a brand identity. You really need to determine what your brand is going to be. And it could be extra, it could be boring, it could be anywhere in between, but you need to have a lane because you're going to want to create content based on that. You don't want to go in and just copycat content or throw out memes. We see that all the time. If I see another meme on Instagram, it's just like, enough. Give me content that's going to be valuable, that I want to consume. And really sitting down and being intentional with what your brand vision is very important. And it doesn't have to be this long, big, scary process. It's, okay, I want to talk about divorce and family law, and I want to center it around moms or dads. And then you build content based around that. If you are striving for perfect content, you're not going to get it. You have to use the tools, the AI resources at your fingertips to create content that's consistent with your brand and that you are consistently posting. Those are kind of the two keys.
You know, Colleen, it's interesting you say that because yesterday we had someone reach out to Gary and I and inquire about our coaching that we have. And and we had her do a quick assessment of her firm.
Yep.
And many of the responses she gave was, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. Now, by the way, she was making several $1 million in her law firm. Okay. So it wasn't like she was sitting there struggling. And so I asked her, why terrible? Why are you saying this, that it's so terrible? And she goes, well, it's because I sound like everybody else.
Right.
And so I was like, so it truly wasn't terrible, but she felt like she didn't have any real identity, that she was just sounding like every law firm.
But that's where the culture of your law firm comes into play, right? Like, what is your mission of your law firm, right? Every law firm should have a mission. What is that mission? And then how do you use that to create your brand identity? And then how do you then use that to create content that is going to engage with consumers? They say it takes an average of 18, it's probably now like 88 touches before a consumer feels comfortable and trusts you to use your brand. And, you know, it's hard work, and we're probably guilty of not doing it strong enough, but you have to start with mission and you got to create content.
And I know you are a cultural evangelist. You are so passionate about the culture in your firm and making sure that it's the right culture.
Yes.
It's interesting you bring that up because every law firm has a culture, right?
Every law firm.
And whether it's good or bad, some law firms will tell you, Colleen, well, we don't really have a culture. Oh, no, you do.
You just don't know about it.
Yeah, it's not as good as you'd hope.
Right.
And so having that brand identity, that mission.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting, Colleen, people, a lot of attorneys listening right now will say, "Oh, we do have a mission, we have a brand, but does the
Good.
staff know it? Does the
Right.
staff know what the mission is? Does the staff, is it really a brand that's permeating everywhere and
Right.
everything?" And what I'm seeing too, and so you say that first mistake in 2024 is that people are truly blending in
Yep.
instead of standing out.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's interesting because the 4th of July here in Southeast Idaho, there's a little parade in this little town called Manan, right? And it's crazy. Only 800 people live there, but like 20,000 people, converge on this little town. And so we're actually going after the parade. We're going to the fireworks show, and we're driving, and everyone's walking and walking. And my kids are like, "Dad, look, everyone is parked way back here. You may want to park." And they're walking. And I said, "No, kids, you need to learn something. Don't park where everyone's parking." And so I just drove right up to the front and got a parking spot right there in the front. We didn't walk at all, hardly. We just got out. We were right there. So don't park where everyone else is parking. And so what happens,
Yeah.
Colleen, is too many law firms are parking here going, "Oh, everyone else is walking.
Right.
I guess that's what we should do. We should park here and walk a mile." But
Well,
the
that's easy.
reality is, go ahead.
No, it's easy to do that. It's easy to follow what everybody's doing because it doesn't take time, commitment, creativity.
That's it. It's easy. We take
Yeah.
that easy path. That's mistake number one. Really, that brand and vision, but in marketing. And number two, Gary, what I'm seeing a lot of is that people are ignoring, and I know this sounds terrible, but they're literally underestimating or ignoring the power of digital marketing. Their websites are getting neglected. And I even hear some people say SEO is dead. And they're neglecting these things that we know that work. Now, what we talk about all the time at Lawyer.com, and Gary, I've heard you say this countless times, is that marketing is not a one prong approach, right? Or you call it a spoke in the wheel, right? And so people go, "Well, Chad, I'm going to get all my leads from Lawyer.com." And we say, "Why would you do that?" Now, obviously, we love providing leads from Lawyer.com. We love that. But you should also have a referral strategy. You should also have other strategies in place. Now, by the way, I say that we had a firm tell us a couple of months ago, Colleen, that they literally built their entire firm on leads from
Which is
Lawyer.com, right?
great.
So that, yeah, that is great. But it is really an effective marketing approach is making sure you do have a decent website. Like
Yep.
we'd never tell you at Lawyer.com, just get our leads, don't have a website, right? No. You want additional pieces to your equation. And so what I'm seeing too is people underestimating the power of digital marketing because it's real.
Yep.
And I heard Ryan Dice, who's a expert in digital marketing years ago, say that one day we'll just lose the digital and it's just going to be marketing, and all marketing is digital. It's like our generation, and I put Gary and I in an older generation than you, Colleen, but our generation, we call it digital marketing.
Yeah.
But as this younger generation comes up, it's just going to be marketing.
They
It's
say
just
82% of consumers go to Google to find lawyers. So really, marketing is marketing, and you need to be marketing online. That doesn't mean that you can't do traditional. So I call it traditional marketing. Traditional marketing to me is print, radio,
right.
billboards. That's traditional. Whereas, people go online to educate themselves. So it's important to kind of be in both areas. I agree with you.
And today you're going to do a powerful presentation on the importance of AI
Yep.
in law firm growth. And so that if you haven't register for that webinar. It's phenomenal, talking about the power of AI in your law firm growth. And so just underestimating or neglecting digital marketing.
Yeah.
And so number one, not having your brand. Number two, underestimating the power of digital marketing. Gary, why don't you finish up today and share with us one more?
Yeah, I think, as I stall for time, I think I like what you both said, and I'm going to wrap that up and say that neglecting those two things is analogous to ignoring your client relationship and your retention in the law firm, because everything that you guys both shared touches on so many things that the client is going to experience. And so I think ignoring the client relationship aspect is to disregard the importance of client's lifetime value.
Mhm.
Think about it. It's always more expensive to acquire a new client than it is to keep an old one or to get referrals. So, client relationship comes in really important there. And, Colleen, you're always talking about how important, the brand is and how important it is to trust. And can you think of an industry where trust is more important than in the
Right.
legal profession? So I think satisfied clients are just a lot more likely to leave positive reviews and recommend others to your firm. And neglecting it could tarnish your reputation. So gosh, and even down to your cost of acquisition of new clients is affected by your reputation, right? And by your attention to detail with your client journey, the relationship. So everything you guys both said, paying attention to the feedback loop. I'm getting on a roll. I could, when you think about how important these things are to the messaging and to your fixture in the community, because listen, we've all been doing this for a long time, and we all now know that whenever we're talking with attorneys, they're aware of other firms in their area that everybody seems to know about. And I think it's because they paid attention to the three things that we just talked about today. That's how important I think branding is, and paying attention to the power of digital marketing, and then of course that journey and that building of the relationship. I think I think those are probably the three biggest areas that have been overlooked.
That's interesting. It is interesting that Gary brings up, when people talk about marketing, you don't think about client journey, right? You don't think about it, but the power of that review, the power of that client being a raving fan. And what's crazy for me to think about, but my kids won't think it's crazy at all. Okay. But I think it's crazy. Gary, you think it's crazy. And Colleen, I'm curious to your take on this, is that people today believe a review on Amazon or on Google or wherever it might be, Facebook, wherever it is, as much as they believe a review from a trusted friend.
Crazy.
That's crazy to me.
Crazy.
That people will look at a review on Google and they'll believe it. Go ahead, Colleen.
So I'll look at the volume of reviews. And if I see that a couch has 5,000 4.5-star reviews, I'm with the people, right? I'm saying, I trust you. I know it. And I agree.
It's crazy. And maybe that leads us to, down the road, we'll talk about how to get more of those reviews. Because I know both of you have strategic things that you put in place to get more reviews. Totally. Because the reality is, and by the way, I know we're almost out of time here, but the reality is sometimes law firms, and they'll call you, Colleen or Gary, and they'll say, oh my goodness, I got a 1-star review. I had all 5-star reviews. And it's like, actually, law firms that only have 5-star reviews, sometimes people don't even believe those reviews, right? So it's how did they respond to that 1-star review, right? And there's a lot of other strategies we can talk there. But Gary, that third point, so important. So glad you brought that up. It is critical to remember these things as you approach your law firm growth and you're scaling your law firm. So as we wrap up, Colleen, Gary, any parting comments?
No, have a great day.
And go out there and forget the power of marketing.
Exactly.
And don't forget to be on the webinar today at what time?
We are doing an AI webinar at 3 p.m. Eastern today. So If you are an attorney that would like to understand how to actually start using AI today, join me at 3 o'clock. I'd love to see you there.
Awesome.
Awesome. Great reminder. See you, everyone.
Bye, guys.